Mic check 1 2 1 2. So my family and I are thinking about going on vacation where we're gonna go. And as I've mentioned in prior videos, it looks like we're gonna be going back to Hawaii this year. And so I want to take a handheld with me, and I don't want to bring my analog pocket. I know that would probably be the best way to go just because of how universal it is. I could actually, put a bunch of games on it, like download a bunch of games to the actual handheld and have that with me and not have to worry about swapping out cartridges or anything like that, which is obviously super convenient, right? But I don't want to bring my analog pocket just because, to be quite honest, I don't want to risk it getting damaged. My kids will be around, so I don't want them thinking it's like a football or something and trying to toss it around. So I'm considering one of my other handhelds to take with me for the trip. And if none of these handhelds work out, then I'm actually considering like a handheld emulation device, just because I've been thinking about picking one of those up more in the recent, recently. I've been thinking about picking up an emulation handheld, and I know there's a bunch out there that range in price. One of the viewers of the channel left me a comment with one. I got to go back and see which one he recommended. But if any of you have an emulation handheld that you recommend, please leave a comment down below. I'm looking for something that has a small form factor, that's um, that can play a bunch of different types of games, that isn't too complicated to set up. I don't want to have to, download this and upload that. And I just want something that's as plug and play as possible. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know down in the comments below. But assuming I don't get my hands on a handheld, I've been thinking about which of the handhelds that I currently have that would probably be the best vacation handheld, like which would be the best for me to go with. Now, to be quite honest with you, I've been playing a lot of Game Boy Advance SP. I've been playing this console a bunch. Not this console in particular, because I have a couple of these, but I've been playing my AGS 101 because that's the console I've been using to play Pokemon Red all day. And surprisingly enough, for a game like Pokemon, this is very comfortable to play because Pokemon doesn't require a lot of like fast movements. So for Pokemon, this is like a really good game, a really good handheld, or probably really any RPG, because most RPGs don't require a lot of fast finger movements. They're more slow paced. So the SP works great for that. The only thing is that the SP is a little one-dimensional. It can only play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. And I'd have to be bringing a bunch of cartridges with me unless I decided to get one of those cartridges that have like 200 games in one, because they do have those Game Boy Advance cartridges out there. So that's another way to kind of cheat the system, without necessarily having to have something that you download a bunch of games to. So the SP is very comfortable. The battery life is decent battery life, but I'm not sure if this is the route I want to go. Now, the Game Boy Color would be a good option too. The only thing is that the Game Boy Color is even more limited than the SP, right? Because it can only play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. It's not backlit, which is a huge downside. So, however, I do find that the Game Boy Color is slightly more comfortable than the SP. It's a little bit more comfortable, just to hold in hand. So that's the advantage that you have there. And then when it comes to the original Game Boy, I would say that the original Game Boy, to be quite honest with you, is probably one of the most comfortable, if not the most comfortable handheld. To be quite honest with you, I know it's beefy. I know it's more beefy than some of the other two handhelds. But despite its beefiness, it does help to make it easier to hold. It's easier to hold. It's easier to play. The buttons have a very nice clicky feel to them. I've always loved the A and B buttons on the Game Boy. I just always felt like they were some of the best, clickiest buttons out there. But then the huge downside is, one, obviously, no back. It's not even in color, right? So not only is it not in color, there's no backlight for the screen, which is going to make it impossible to play at night, or if I happen to catch a night flight or something. So that's going to be the struggle. On top of that, it requires 4 AA batteries, which probably won't last me that long, depending on the game that I'm playing. And then the options of games to play on the Game Boy for me personally, just aren't quite there. Even if I were to get like a multi-game cart for the Game Boy, there's not a ton of games with enough depth to them to carry me the through that 9 hour flight. So I'd probably get bored with the original Game Boy. Um, Now, just sticking with kind of like the more cartridge based ones, well, they're all cartridge based, but the Game Boy Advance is neat in that with the Game Boy Advance, it is a better form factor, I think, just because it's a little wider. Um, I do think it kind of feels a little bit better, especially with the triggers, the left and right triggers. I do think this one has probably one of the better form factors as well. But again, one dimensional, only Game Boy Advance games. None of these are backlit, so that's the challenge there. Now, when you start getting into like the DS series, obviously probably the most versatile one is going to be the DS Lite. It can play the DS games, it could play the Game Boy Advance games, which is really cool. And it does come with a backlit screen. It does have the little stylus to it. I'm missing my stylus. I don't know where my stylus went, but this one is a little bit more versatile. So that's the cool thing about that one. And you can do a little bit more. If you decide, like if I were to decide to bring cartridges, which again, I don't really think that's something I want to do. I think I would like to, if I do bring a cartridge, I want it to be one cart that could just be like a multi-cart that I play. Um, just because I don't want carts all over the place and have the risk of losing something. But in terms of like functionality and like, you know, being able to do multiple things, this is really a cool handheld. On top of that, like if I do decide to do some game shopping while in Hawaii, at least I can test out any Game Boy Advance and DS games that I decide to buy. So I can test out more games on this console if I do decide to buy any hardware. So that's a good option there. Um, when it comes to the DSi, if I had to choose between the DSi and the 3DS, I'm just gonna go 3DS just because it could do more, has more capabilities on it. The 2DS is cool, but it's a lot more bulky and would be a lot more difficult to travel with, so I'd probably wind up leaving that one home. But for travel's sake, if I'm gonna go like DS, 3DS, I probably would go 3DS. But again, this is my only 3DS or new 3DS for that matter. I actually had the what is it called? The geez, it's the monster. Is it the monster? Is it the Monster Hunter? I think I had the Yeah, that's what it was. So I had the Monster Hunter 3DS a few years back, and I wound up selling that. And I kept this one because this one I have actually got this one complete in box. Um, so I don't know if I want to bring this one just because I wouldn't want to get again I wouldn't want to risk it getting damaged or anything like that. And so where does that leave me? To be quite honest, that honestly kind of leaves me feeling like the SP would be the best way to go for vacation, just because it's the smallest, it could fit in my pocket, it's really neat, has decent battery life. And again, it wouldn't be that SP. I actually have a gray AGS 101, so I'd probably bring my gray AGS 101. And the AGS 101 that I have is already a little beat up, right? It already has some wear and tear on it, so I'm not gonna lose my mind if it drops or something happens to it. I won't go crazy. Um, and so for me, I think that's the route I would go if I can't get my hands on some type of emulation device. I might just do that. But let me know what you guys think. If you're going on vacation, what handheld are you taking? I know some people might say Steam Deck and all that stuff, but that's just too big. I'm looking for a small form factor, can do a lot with it, you know, a lot of fun, something backlit with decent battery life that doesn't require batteries per se. I can just charge it up and be good to go. Let me know what handheld you would choose, and let me know if there are any good emulation devices that could probably serve this purpose for like a vacation. The flight from where I'm at to Hawaii is about 9 hours, so I would want something that could last. I mean, I'm sure they've got like charging ports on the plane. They usually have like the USB port for charging on the plane, but something that will last and something that will allow me to play a good catalog of games. Well, let me know what you think about that down in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.